There is a moment when you look down at the surface of the sea and realize you are standing on the edge of another world, where light disappears after only a few meters, where silence has weight, where time seems to stop. And in that instant you understand that everything humans know is just a drop of water in the infinite ocean of the unknown. Scientists have sent submarines down more than 10,000 meters. Modern cameras have captured images no one has ever seen. Yet the deeper we go, the more tightly the ocean holds its secrets. Cliffs rise higher than skyscrapers. Creatures glow like drifting stars in the night. Strange sounds echo from places where no life should exist, making us wonder if down there is only water and rock or something else watching us back. Every centimeter in the darkness is a question. Every glimmer of light is a challenge. And that feeling, the mixture of fear and fascination, keeps us from looking away from the sea. We keep exploring, keep diving deeper, even knowing we may never reach the end, because the ocean is not just a place that holds water, it is a keeper of time, the memory of Earth, the fragment of its soul that humanity has forgotten. There the wrecks of ships from centuries past rest like monuments. Cities swallowed by the sea lie buried under cold sand. Civilizations that may have existed and vanished without a trace, leaving behind only silent stones and indifferent currents flowing by. The ocean does not speak. It only watches, remembers, waits. And perhaps it is that silence itself that makes us tremble, because it reminds us how small we truly are before something so beautiful, so fierce, and so vast. You can see the deep blue quietly swallowing the light. You can feel the cold seeping into your skin. And in that moment you know you are looking into the planet's past, into mysteries no one has yet deciphered. Mysteries that could change how we understand life itself. And perhaps in that very moment you understand why humanity always returns. Why even in fear we still want to go deeper and farther. Because deep down we are not only searching for the ocean, we are searching for ourselves, for the answer to the question that has slept for millions of years, where we came from and what still waits for us beneath those waters where the light never reaches. When the last light from the sea surface fades behind you, the space ahead thickens like a bottomless black curtain. The small beams from the submarine's lamps no longer cut through the water but dissolve like drifting dust, glowing faintly as they float in the cold. Each particle, each tiny organism, like fragments of stars adrift in an alien sky, no longer an ocean but a silent universe, a place without day or night, only the steady rhythm of human breath, and the soft metallic groan as pressure rises. The submarine keeps descending, slowly, meter by meter, as if moving backward through time, to a realm where all sounds from the surface world are strangled, where every emotion becomes pure and frighteningly sharp. And in that silence, you begin to hear things you never could before: the murmur of the water, the faint crack of stone, even the beating of your own heart. Each sound a reminder that we are venturing into a place where humans do not belong. The deeper you go, the more the blue turns into a dim hue, shifting to indigo, then to complete black. The pressure gauge flickers, the temperature needle drops, while outside the world begins to change shape. The seafloor is no longer flat, but rugged, torn open with fractures like the wounds of the planet. Some parts rising like walls, others collapsing into abysses. The light reflects off silt and rock, creating strange illusions, as if something were moving slowly, a vast shadow then gone. Maybe just the current, maybe something watching. We do not know, and that unknowing makes the heart race, the breath shorten, like standing before a secret door you were never meant to open. And then within that pitch darkness, a faint light begins to appear. At first just a blur, then lines, then square shapes, slowly forming into structures that could not be natural. Stacked stones, walls, pillars, stairways worn smooth by time. And in that instant, you understand. This is not random scenery. These are traces of human hands. A city once alive now resting beneath the sea, buried under sand and seaweed, yet still radiating a cold beauty, both glorious and mournful. Small fish drift through doorways. Carved stones bear ancient patterns almost erased. Soft curves telling a story long forgotten. People call it the lost city beneath the Atlantic. Some say it is Atlantis. Others believe it is a fragment of an ancient civilization swallowed by an earthquake. But before such a sight, every theory feels small, because the sensation of standing between two worlds, one of the present and one of the past, is so vivid you almost hear footsteps and voices of those who lived thousands of years ago. The feeling overwhelms you, as if wandering through humanity's memory. Under the dim light, details emerge. A large statue broken in half, its face covered in algae, yet eyes still staring ahead. A long row of columns leading to a square buried in sand. At its center, a round stone engraved with strange symbols, like a language but unreadable. Water flows through the carvings, creating tiny ripples. And you realize this place is still alive, not in a human way, but in the way of the ocean. It breathes through the currents, speaks through silence, preserves memory through layers of sediment building year after year, and that makes it immortal. When you leave the area, your mind still echoes with the image of those ancient stones, a question repeating itself. How many other civilizations have been swallowed like this? How many stories never told? You look up, the light from the surface now a faint distant dot, and below your feet lies an endless trench where humanity has never set foot. This is the darkness of the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, a vast crack on the planet's map, deeper than any ordinary ocean, where tectonic plates collide, where rock is crushed and melted, creating underwater mountains and vents spewing heat. Here life exists in unimaginable ways. Eyeless creatures with transparent skin glowing through chemical energy, drifting slowly in thick black water. Streams of microorganisms shimmer like tiny galaxies. A world completely different, both beautiful and terrifying. And you realize that here all rules of the surface mean nothing. There is no light, no trees, no warmth, yet there is life, resilient and enduring. And most striking of all, it does not need us. It does not need to be understood. It only needs to exist. You suddenly feel absurdly small. All the confidence of civilization, technology, and theory dissolves before something untouchable. You look through the glass, light glancing off the vertical walls of the trench, mineral veins glimmering as if the earth itself were breathing. Then suddenly the radar screen shows a strange signal, a massive metallic shape lying deep within the rift. Unnatural. The submarine moves closer, and when the light reaches it, you see it. A rusted hull, perhaps a sunken ship, perhaps relics of an ancient industry. No one knows. Because the sea keeps everything and buries everything. The sub circles it. Light reflecting off the metal makes the whole scene flare for a moment, then fade again, leaving only the sense of something unseen, watching from below. A gaze without form, not hostile but cold, as if the ocean itself were asking, why you are here, why humanity insists on entering where it does not belong. That question whispers in your mind, then fades with the current as the submarine begins to rise, passing through black silt, through thermal vents spewing from the Earth's core, through schools of ghostly fish. Everything blurs until only the hum of engines and the pale returning light remain. But just when you think the journey is over, you notice the sea above has changed color, no longer blue but a brilliant red, like blood, like fire. And then you understand, it is the Red Sea, where water and history intertwine, once the root of empires, where ships carried gold, silk, and war. The Red Sea is not merely beautiful water, it is witness to thousands of years of trade, of civilizations, meeting and vanishing. The coral reefs here are not only natural wonders, but cemeteries for hundreds of ships, each a story, an ending and a beginning. Sunlight pierces the clear water, reflecting on vibrant coral, on fish of every color, on scattered fragments of metal, and you feel the strange harmony between death and life, between ruin and rebirth. The Red Sea reminds us that nothing truly disappears. Everything only changes form. A rusted tank becomes home to thousands of creatures. A sunken ship turns into a reef. Things that once carried war now carry life. And in that peace there is a beauty that leaves you breathless, because it does not need to be touched, only seen and understood, that nature will always be stronger than man, always knowing how to turn sorrow into eternity. Sunlight sparkles on the surface, reflects on the submarine glass, and you catch your own reflection, small and drifting in the vast sky of water. You do not know where you are, whether it is day or night. You only know this world is larger than imagination ever dared, and as the submarine breaks the surface, as water bursts around it, sunlight flashes bright and blinding, yet your eyes still hold the darkness below, where lost cities lie still, where ancient roads await human footsteps, where untold stories continue to be written in the language of water. You realize this journey is not just exploration but a reminder that the ocean is not merely beauty or resource. It is the heart of the planet, the memory of life, and the mirror of humanity itself. We always want to know more, to understand more. But perhaps what matters is not the answer, but that we still know how to ask, still know how to look down into the deep and whisper, "We know nothing." And in that moment, we are truly alive. As the submersible leaves the warm waters of the Red Sea, everything seems to change. The surface above slips away until only faint halos shatter in the dark. And below that, the ocean opens like an invisible gate, leading into a world without a name. No more vivid blue or glittering coral, only blackness, stillness, and density. As if sinking into the breath of the earth itself, each low groan of metal in the hull echoes through the cabin like the slow, careful heartbeat of the planet. Every foot downward blurs the boundary between humanity and nature a little more. Bands of green light from the control screen sweep across the pilot's face and catch an eager and tense gaze. At this depth, a small mistake could erase everything in an instant. But curiosity is stronger than fear. That is the instinct that keeps us from stopping. We want to see, to know, to touch what no one has touched. The sub keeps dropping, past water, so cold glass could shatter, through churning clouds of silt. Then suddenly the radar draws an odd curve, an empty pocket far deeper than the terrain around it. And when the lamps sweep down, we see the vertical walls of the Tonga Trench, a vast rift where the ocean looks torn in two. Knife-edged ridges run toward a horizon that never arrives. Cold currents pour down like fog, In that space, nothing is still. Everything moves slowly, yet endlessly. As if the earth were breathing, you can feel pressure from every direction. An invisible weight pressing down until the hull trembles. There in the dark, the beams catch strange life. Long, glassy bodies with light pulsing along their vessels drift by like streams of souls. Silent, glittering, then gone. Once you glimpse the shadow of a giant squid longer than the sub, gliding away without a ripple, leaving only the feeling of eyes on your back, the pilot says nothing and tightens his grip on the stick, because down here, every sound travels far, and every silence says too much. The Tonga walls rise straight and monumental. Deep fissures yawn like the mouth of the planet. Pale rock flashes when the lamps touch it and throws back a cool silvery glow, as if some hidden energy were moving inside the earth. At a bend, we find an open pocket, like an underwater valley, where the current slackens. At the center stand upright stones arranged in a circle. No one can say whether they are natural or built, but the shapes are too clean and the angles too exact. Faint symbols are cut into the faces like a language ancient and unreadable. Everyone in the sub goes quiet. Only breath and the soft thrum of the engines remain. It feels like standing before a temple of a forgotten world. If what we saw under the Atlantic was the memory of a civilization, then here beneath Tonga is evidence of something larger, perhaps a source, perhaps a missing link in the history of the Earth. No one dares to touch. We only look, because it seems a small motion might make everything collapse or wake. The lights pass over the pillars and reveal a strange creature clinging to the stone. Coral-like yet moving, it tightens at the touch of light, then opens and exhales a dim glow like a breath. Time slips away. Then the pressure readout shifts and warns of a large opening below. The sub eases forward. A forceful current tips the hull. The lighting flickers. In that instant, a ribbon of electric blue erupts from the fissure like a lightning stroke held in place, brilliant yet gentle on the eyes. A living light with a rhythm as if it were answering our presence. The pilot stares at the screen and murmurs that it could be geothermal, but the pulse is too even and too musical to be anything known. When we push a little deeper, every system dies at once. Lamps out, monitors black, only a low electrical hum, and then nothing. Darkness swallows everything. A few seconds later, a weak glow stutters back. But ahead, where the fissure had blazed, there is nothing now. Only a pit of pure black. The radar shows no return at all, as if the space does not exist or never did. The sub holds position, then drifts away in silence. No one speaks. And through the long ascent, no one can shake the feeling that something down there is waking and waiting to be seen. When we reach a safer depth, we turn west toward the Mindanao Trench, longer, deeper, and lonelier than Tonga. There are no signals there, and no surf, and no sound. Only water, cold, heavy, and grave. When we arrive, the beams fall on countless tiny creatures, shining as they swim in rings like a secret dance. In the middle lies a strangely level plain, covered in fine white sand like mist. There is no coral and no algae, only parallel grooves running on and on. Steady as if something once moved here, or something was once built here. No one knows. We only know the quiet is so complete that every breath is audible, and in that quiet, there is a presence hard to name, as if the ocean were listening. Each time you swing a light, you sense something moving behind you, light and quick like a shadow then gone. Nameless beings, quick sparks rising and fading. The scene becomes a Milky Way in motion, every speck a small soul, every current a long breath of the universe, and amid it all, a human is a single wandering mote. We continue south across the Atacama Trench, where burning rock below drives white plumes from the seafloor. Life survives here by other rules, clusters that feed on chemicals, bodies soft and translucent, giving off a faint haze of light. We find a strange reef growing on the bones of an old ship. The skin of the hull has nearly melted away, yet inside the shapes of steel columns, stair cages, and a rudder remain. As if time paused at the moment the vessel sank, schools of small fish weave through the frame. The lamps catch the rust until the whole ruin shines like glass. The pilot whispers that it looks like a church. It does. A cathedral underwater where ruin becomes peace. Light pours through a broken hatch and lays slow ribbons across the deck, like cracks in the memory of the sea. And we understand that down here there is no idea of loss, only change. The death of a ship is the birth of new life. Cliffs split so the world can move, and from darkness, light returns. We leave Atacama and head west, where the Great Blue Hole opens like a giant eye in the Caribbean. From above, it is a deep sapphire circle set in jade water, so still and perfect it inspires fear. We drop through water so clear you think you could touch the bottom. Then the light softens and stalactites appear, long and heavy, hanging like the teeth of time. This was once a dry cave when the sea was low. Now the ocean owns it. Inside, sound echoes like the voice of rock. Every motion slows. You hear bubbles pop and the faint tap of metal and the breath that spreads through the water. And sometimes it feels like something else, a distant resonance. People who lived and died and drifted through this place. No bodies remain, yet somehow their spirits seem stored in the water. And you see that the ocean keeps the memory of death as well as life. It does not separate or judge. It preserves forever. When we rise, the sun sends 1,000 dancing paths through the clear surface, like a flight of spirits. The sight is calm and unreal. You look up at the bright skin of the sea and smile, because you understand that this journey is not only about the ocean, it is about the nature of life and curiosity and the endless drive to understand the world. We will keep diving deeper and keep searching. Where there is mystery, there is hope. And in that darkness at the heart of the sea, you hear something very small, almost a whisper. From nowhere and everywhere, it makes your heart tremble, as if the ocean were saying, "Welcome home." The night sea grows unnaturally still, the surface flat like a vast mirror, reflecting the cold moonlight. The submarine drifts quietly through the endless expanse, and in that moment everything seems to stop. No wind, no waves, only the steady hum of the engine like a distant heartbeat. Then the transmission to the control center begins to flicker. Thin strands of electromagnetic waves stretch like threads, and within that static, a strange frequency appears. Low, drawn out, like a call from some faraway place beneath the sea. The captain looks at the screen, his eyes uncertain, for this signal belongs to nothing known. Not seismic waves, not whales. It is steady, deep, and rhythmic, like a deliberate pattern. No one speaks. They only look at one another, then fall silent. The submarine turns toward the source. The closer it gets, the stronger the sensation that something is beating below. A slow, heavy pulse that can be felt more than heard, as if the heart of the planet itself were alive. We descend deeper, the light outside fading until the water thickens like air made solid. the radar outlines a massive shape on the seafloor, larger than any undersea mountain ever mapped. Uneven, but with a flattened peak, like a dome half buried in mud. The submarine slows and beams light across it. Everyone holds their breath. It is not a mountain, nor rock, but a vast structure, a dome made of something unknown, neither metal nor stone, but a fusion of both, opaque yet faintly glowing from within as if it were breathing. The light brightens and fades with a rhythm, each pulse stirring the surrounding water as if in response, a sequence of slow heartbeats spreading through the depths. And in that moment, everyone knows this thing is not natural. It lives, or once did. The submarine edges closer. Currents twist violently. The hull trembles. Signals vanish. The screens flicker with lines of symbols no one can read. Data streams cascading in alien code. The recorders capture low, resonant tones mixed with whispers that sound like voices, not in any human language. The sounds merge into a slow chant, like a song or ritual older than memory. Then the cabin lights flicker, darkness seeps in. Only a weak, blue glow remains from the monitor. Outside, bioluminescent creatures gather. Thousands of tiny lights drifting around the dome, forming a swirling halo. And as if guided, they begin to move together, circling the submarine in unison, creating a glowing ring so beautiful it chills the blood. For within the light something moves, not fish, not coral, but thin, shadowy figures gliding through the radiance as if watching. No one dares to speak. Then suddenly the dome below begins to tremble. The inner light flares, piercing through layers of silt and rising like columns toward the surface far above. The water churns violently. White plumes burst from fissures. The submarine is thrown back. Alarms scream. The pilot fights to steady the craft. Pressure surges, metal groans, and then everything stops, all at once, as if an unseen hand had gripped the entire world. Silence so complete you can hear your own heartbeat, and within it a faint shimmer appears ahead, slowly forming a shape, hazy and moving. A figure, tall and slender, no face, no hands, only a presence suspended in the water. The flickering light reflects across it, and for an instant 2 points glow where eyes should be. Deep, still, not violent, only watching, yet freezing everyone in place. Time ceases. We cannot look away, as though pulled into that gaze, a gaze without life but filled with thought. Then a voice rises, not through sound but through sensation, echoing in the mind, slow and clear, not human yet understood. It says, "You have gone too far," not a warning, more a reminder, as if the ocean itself were speaking through it. Then the figure fades, the light dims, systems reboot, the radar shows nothing, currents calm. But everyone knows we have seen something that should remain unseen. No one speaks. The submarine turns and withdraws, but the signal lingers, a faint rhythmic pulse, like the heartbeat of something sleeping or waiting. When we surface, the sea is bright again, not with moonlight, but with the soft red glow of dawn, the water shimmering like fire. But as the light touches the glass, the monitors flicker, the strange frequency returns. This time, not as sound, but as image. Faint symbols repeating like ancient script, then gone, only for seconds, yet enough to know the story is not over. That night when the vessel docked and data was sent to the center, no one could decode it. The symbols matched no language, no math, no waveform, yet had rhythm, like a melody, like a message. Someone played the signal backward, and it became the sound of a human heartbeat, deep, slow, repeating 3 times, then silence. Experts studied it for months. None could explain. Only one note was added, that in the following days, seismic sensors at the Tonga Trench recorded gentle pulses, too weak to cause quakes yet perfectly regular, every 6 hours, like a beat, and through all that time no device could capture an image of the site. Every transmission blurred or blank as if light itself could not exist there, as if a veil covered it. The divers who returned all shared the same dream. They stood in black water under a starless sky, pale blue light beneath their feet, and within it, thousands of human-like shapes standing still, faces turned upward, silent, waiting, unmoving. And when they woke, they still heard the rhythm inside their heads, soft, steady, endless, like the ocean breathing within them. Some never returned to the sea. Some became obsessed, devoting their lives to that frequency, and in their final notes, they wrote that the ocean is not a grave, it is memory, the soul of the planet, and everything that touches it is never lost, only changed, reshaped, and returned. What humanity sees is only the surface. Beneath it, something waits, not enemy, not friend, but memory itself, alive, breathing, watching. Some say that on nights when the wind is still and the waves are calm, you can hear it. Not the sound of water, but the heartbeat of the ocean. Slow, deep, and endless, reminding us that some secrets do not belong to us, and some doors once opened will never close again. After long days of return, when the submarine is moored at the harbor and the sea lies still and wide like a sheet of black silk, everyone remains silent. No one speaks of what they have seen. No one dares to recall the images still etched deep within their minds. The pale blue light, the sleeping dome beneath the depths, the whisper that echoed inside their heads. All of it feels like a dream, yet each detail remains painfully clear. Time drifts slowly. Waves lap softly against a boat. The hull the wind carries, the scent of salt, and the cool breath of the ocean. And in that stillness, something changes, not outside, but within, as though the sea has left a part of itself in each of them, a sound that never fades, a slow pulse like breathing. The echo is not loud or violent, only as gentle as wind, but steady, persistent. And the more you listen, the more you realize. It does not come to your ears, but from within your chest, from your heart, from your blood, from a memory you did not know you. Carried perhaps from that moment, humanity began to understand that the ocean is not merely water, not only waves, but living memory, the keeper of every beginning and every end of this planet. When you look into the sea, you are not seeing the present, you are staring into billions of years of history, where every grain of sand is a fragment of time, and every current carries the breath of creatures that once lived and vanished. And you are only a brief moment in that endless cycle that night. The city by, the shore still glows with light, yet human brightness cannot reach the void, where the sea and the sky become one in that darkness. Faint glimmers move, not ships, not stars, but drifting trails of light, slow and silent. Those who see them never speak, because they know some things must remain untouched, like dreams that need no meaning. The old captain sits on deck, gazing far out his eyes, no longer afraid, only understanding. He murmurs softly that the ocean is not frightening. It is only that humans are too loud to hear it. Speak. The others stay quiet, They know that everything they saw and felt was not chance, but the deliberate grace of nature, as if the sea wished to show them a piece of its soul before closing the door forever in the days that follow. Data is sent everywhere, but no one deciphers. The frequency scientists try to prove it is only physics, echoes between layers of water, results of pressure and temperature. Yet deep down everyone knows there is something else, something immeasurable, something beyond definition, because that feeling does not belong to reason but to spirit. Some leave their work and live by the shore, silent, unwriting, only listening. Some devote their lives to that sound, hoping to learn the language of the sea, but they do not know that some things are meant to be felt, not explained. For when we dissect mystery, we lose its beauty. Just as when we analyze a song, we stop hearing the music. The storyteller stands on the shore, watching the waves and in their rhythm. Here's something familiar, a slow, steady beat, like a heartbeat, like a call from the other side of the world. He understands that the sea does not wish to frighten us. It only wants us to remember that we were born from it, and sooner or later, we return to it. The ocean swallows no one. It merely takes back what has always belonged to it. We arrive, we depart, and it remains like a mother patient, vast, forgiving, sometimes fierce, but never cruel. Only humans break the balance. Only humans forget to respect what they cannot understand. The ocean hides no secret. It is silent, and it is that silence that terrifies us. For humans cannot bear silence. They crave noise and answers. But the sea needs no voice. It simply exists, and existence is enough when night falls. Sound of waves against the shore becomes breathing, becomes a lullaby, a story that never ends. You can sit for hours, and if you truly listen, you will hear your heartbeat in the surf, your breath in the wind and in the moonlight on the water. The memory of millions of lives that have loved, lost, and dissolved into the sea. All still here, only changed in shape and name. And with every wave that breaks, perhaps it is the greeting of old souls, those who sank, those who fell, those the sea kept and braced. Now return to say they are still here, that the sea is not a grave but a cradle, where all loss becomes renewal, where death is only another form of continuation. And because of this, the ocean never ends. It only moves like time, like life, and no matter how hard humanity tries, we are only travelers passing through, unable to own, unable to conquer, only able to give thanks. Some say that if you stand alone by the sea on a moonless night, close your eyes and listen, you will hear your name not called by wind but by water, because within water lies the memory of every creature that ever lived, and a part of you belongs to it. We carry water in our blood, salt in our tears, tides in our hearts. We are not apart from the sea, we are of it. And when we look at the sea, it looks back understanding, for it has seen everything. It has watched humanity be born, build, destroy, and then beg for mercy. The ocean does not judge it, remembers, and in that memory we are forever, children, curious, frightened, longing to be loved. Perhaps that is why humans can never stay away from the sea, no matter how many times it takes them, no matter how many storms they face. They return, they reach, they listen, because deep down we know that when we touch the sea, we are touching the origin of the mender, ourselves. And perhaps one day when humanity stops fighting, stops destroying, and simply listens, The ocean will tell all it keeps, not through words, but through feeling, through rain, through waves, through the taste of salt, through the light. Beneath the surface that day, we will understand that there are no secrets to solve, only beauty to recognize. And when we understand, we will stop fearing, stop claiming, and simply merge, dissolve, like a drop returning to the ocean, like a soul returning to its source. In that moment, there will be no boundary between human and sea, between life and death, between present and memory. Only clarity, stillness, and beauty, so pure it brings tears, because that is the moment we truly realize we were never apart, only lost from where we have always belonged. When the first dawn after that journey begins to rise, pale gold light weaves through the thin mist of the sea like silk, each droplet scattering into shimmering fragments across the waves. The small vessel still drifts there, suspended between two worlds, half belonging to humankind and half to the ocean. Everything becomes so quiet that you can hear the wind brushing the water, the wings of a weary bird returning toward land. And in that moment, all memories of darkness, of the call from below, of the silent domes breathing in the deep, feel distant like dreams. Yet the feeling remains, a feeling beyond name, both fear and gratitude, as though the ocean had touched the deepest part of the soul and left an imprint that can never fade. Humanity returns to the light, but carries within the shadow of the sea, a darkness no longer frightening but sacred, a reminder that beneath the calm beauty, there is an invisible force patiently sustaining all life. And we, the small and fragile, are only allowed to exist within a moment of that mercy. After the voyage, everyone changes. The old captain sits on deck, his eyes no longer on the horizon but on the water, deep and still where he knows things continue to drift. He says softly that what frightens people about the ocean is not its depth, but its truth. For the longer you look, the more you see yourself in it, your fragility, your pride, the limits you try to deny. We believe we are strong, but one wave can erase everything. We believe we know, but the farther we go, the clearer it becomes that our knowledge is only dust. The ocean does not speak yet. Every time we look at it, we see ourselves. We see questions we have never dared to ask. And one day we understand that it is not the sea that keeps secrets, but humans who hide from truth, that we have forgotten where we came from. We have lived on land so long we forget the salt in our blood comes from the sea, that we once belonged to it, and that distance makes us lonely. But now, after seeing, hearing, and feeling, we can never be the same. For every breath carries the echo of the depth, every dream is tinted blue and still. Every time we close our eyes, we see the glowing creatures drifting, the sleeping domes, and we hear the ocean speak, not in words but in the heartbeat of the earth, of water, of ourselves. We understand that the sea neither lives nor dies, but exists in an endless cycle, without beginning or end, only continuation, transformation, and return. Within that circle, we are only a moment, yet a moment is enough to understand the meaning of existence. We begin to learn to listen instead of search, to feel instead of conquer, to breathe in rhythm with the world instead of apart from it. For only when we stop trying to possess do we truly merge with the eternal. The ocean teaches silence. It teaches that not every voice must be heard, not every question must be answered. Some truths are meant to be felt by instinct, like how the wave understands the shore, how the fish knows the current, and how the sea knows the wind. The further humanity goes into the future, the more it must relearn this, to exist as gently as a drop of water, not resisting, only blending, to realize that true strength lies not in control, but in the ability to let go. The sea does not compete, yet nothing can resist it, because it knows that time stands with it. We look upon the surface and see ripples spreading each ring like a human life, born, expanding, fading, and returning, and in that moment we know that everything is forgiven. Everything we have done, destroyed, or forgotten will be carried away, not to judge but to renew. Like rain washing dust, like waves erasing footprints, we understand that life does not need to win. It only needs to continue. And when humanity understands that perhaps the world will finally be at peace, we will stop fearing death and loss, for we will know that nothing truly disappears. It only changes form and enters another cycle. We are water, we are salt, we are the breath of the sea. We have traveled far, only to realize that what we sought has always been here within our own bodies, our own heartbeat, our own tears, in the sound of waves that cradle us to sleep each night, and in the memories we once dropped into the sea. When the sun climbs high, lighting the ocean, the surface shines with gold, but beneath it, the light reaches only part way. The rest remains darkness. Yet we no longer fear that darkness, because we know within it there is life, there is memory, there is warmth. Without words, darkness is no longer the enemy but the blanket that shelters. What we do not yet understand, the cradle of stories not yet told. And when we learn to love the darkness, we finally understand the light, for neither can exist without the other. Just as humankind and the ocean coexist, breathe together, stay silent together, and continue writing the endless story of this planet. When we stand before the sea and watch the waves crash and withdraw, we see ourselves coming and going, loving and letting go, fearing and daring, changing yet always the same, no more, no less. And in that realization, something within us is freed, not by an answer, but by knowing that no answer is needed, only the awareness that we live within the same breath as the ocean, and that is enough. Some say that when a person truly understands the sea, they stop speaking, stop fearing, and stop searching for. They have found themselves in the salt water, in the gentle darkness, and in the sunlight, shattering on the waves, and perhaps that is the gift the ocean gives to those who dare to dive deep. Not gold, not secrets, but awakening, return, and peace. A peace beyond words, only felt like the soft beating of waves against the heart. Steady, endless, and tender, like a greeting from the origin of life itself. That afternoon the sky carried the soft blue of sunlight mingled with mist. The breeze drifted in from the open sea, tasting faintly of salt. The small vessel rested still in calm water, as though the ocean itself were taking a breath after a long dream. The few who remained on board had not yet left. They sat quietly gazing into the distance. No one spoke, letting time slip through the gentle rhythm of the waves. Something within them had changed, not in appearance but in depth, the way one changes after stepping through a doorway and knowing they will never see the world the same again. The sea looked unchanged, vast and endless. But the light on its surface was no longer only light. It now carried breath, memory, and the silent voice they had once heard rising from the deep. The old captain stood and looked down into the water, as if searching for something he had lost. He said that the ocean does not speak in words, it speaks in time. Each wave is a breath, each gust of wind a memory, and humans need only listen. Then he turned to the younger crew, his voice slow. When you are afraid, the sea will remain silent. Only when you show respect will it open its heart. And once it does, no one can return unchanged. They understood, because within them that sound still lived, the sound of darkness, the colossal heartbeat they had heard in the depths, now no longer frightening but part of them, like breathing, like remembrance. Perhaps the ocean had chosen them, or perhaps they had simply touched something humanity had long forgotten, that the world does not belong to us. We are only guests passing through, meant to learn, to remember, and to tell the story. In the days that followed, they returned to land but carried the scent of salt in their hearts. Everything on shore felt different. The hurried rhythm of life, the bright light, the endless noise, all seemed foreign. For once you have heard the silence of the sea, every other sound feels small. The young engineer who once manned the radar left his job. He walked the shore each day, recording wind and waves and smiling to himself. He told the captain, "The sea is still speaking, only no one listens." The biologist who once feared the darkness of the trench spent her life studying glowing creatures, believing that each spark of light was a living memory, the spirit of something reborn. She called it the language of renewal. The captain himself rose early each morning and sat by the shore, doing nothing but breathing and watching. He knew that when we stop trying to understand, we begin to feel that the sea is not a place we come to explore, but a mirror we come to face ourselves. Perhaps that is why every voyage outward is also a journey inward. We think we search for secrets out there, but we are really searching for our own essence. The others each went their separate ways, yet all carried a faint light in their eyes, a light only those who have touched the darkness of the sea possess. It made them quieter, gentler, and strangely happier. They no longer feared loss, for they had seen life within death. They no longer feared loneliness, for they knew that beneath every wave, countless souls were breathing with them. And they no longer feared forgetting, for they understood that memory does not live in the mind, but in the water, in the breath, in every drop of rain, in every heartbeat. The sound remained, even far from the ocean. Close your eyes, and it returns, slow and deep and steady, like the heartbeat of the earth, like the lullaby of an ancient mother. We live within that rhythm, sometimes forgetting, but it never forgets us, for we are part of it. And once we understand this, humanity stops chasing immortality, because we realize that eternity is not about extending life, but about merging with the flow of it. When we stop resisting, we are already eternal. Every droplet in our bodies was once part of the sea, once fell from the sky, once touched stone, once became cloud, and now it flows within us, carrying the memory of everything. This teaches us that nothing is lost, nothing is new. There is only transition and continuity, and that is why the ocean never dies, because it is the cycle of life itself, the memory of the earth. And we, though fleeting, are each a current within it. Perhaps this is what the sea wants us to know, that we need not conquer. Only remember, live, and breathe with it. Somewhere else on a strip of sand, a child stands before the sea, eyes wide in wonder at its immensity. He throws a pebble into the water and watches the ripples spread and laughs. In that laughter there is the innocence of one who does not yet know fear, and perhaps that is the state the ocean loves most, because it sees itself in that child. In him it sees the origin of life, the future, the faith. The old captain watches and nods. He knows the journey has ended but never truly ends. For each time someone stands before the sea, looks into its depth, and feels small, The journey begins again, needing no ship, no instruments, only a heart that can listen, a mind that can be still, and a soul humble enough to enter. For that is the only key to the deep, where the ocean keeps the secret of everything, not to hide, but to share with those who are ready. And in that final moment, as the sun sets, the sea glows again, not with sunlight, but with the light that comes from within, the light of life, of memory, of eternity, soft and slow and breathtakingly beautiful. Once more the ocean whispers so quietly it sounds like wind that we were never apart. We had only forgotten the way home. And now it is time to remember. Night descends softly like a thin veil, laying a gentle silver light upon the sea. Waves brush the shore like the steady breathing of a vast sleeping creature. Yet beneath that calm surface the ocean moves, silent and endless. And perhaps it is within that silence that the greatest things take place, unseen, unheard, only felt by the soul. Now the vessel holds only a few people, those who have journeyed through the deepest night, who have heard the breathing of the sea and faced what reason cannot explain. They are no longer seekers but bearers of the ocean's message, each changed not by knowledge but by feeling, the kind of feeling only those who have touched infinity can know, a feeling of smallness so immense it dissolves the self, yet wraps it in nameless warmth, as if the infinite itself were not threatening but embracing them like a patient mother welcoming her lost child home. The old captain says little, his eyes fixed on the horizon where sky fades into water. In his gaze lies a quiet light, the understanding beyond words. He knows that what they witnessed is only a fragment of something far greater, for the ocean holds not only life but memory. The memory of the planet, of everything that has ever been. Each droplet is a story, each wave a chapter, and mankind has learned only the opening lines. The young woman who once trembled before the darkness of the trench speaks softly. She says that in the blackest night, she saw faint trails of light, drifting slowly like wandering souls. And in that instant, her fear vanished. She realized that life exists even in shadow, that beauty endures where light cannot reach. Only humans are too restless to see it. And this made her believe that nature speaks a language beyond words, needing no letters, only silence and presence. The engineer says that when he turned on the recorder at 10,000 meters, he did not just hear waves but a slow, steady pulse like a heartbeat. At first he thought it was a malfunction, but after hearing it hundreds of times, he understood it was not noise, but a living frequency, one he could not define. It made him realize that the ocean is not empty space, but a body breathing, feeling, thinking. Humanity simply has not yet learned how to speak with it. And perhaps their journey was never meant to discover but to listen. To hear what the world has long ignored, that Earth is not a stage but a living being. We do not stand upon it, we exist within it like cells in a body. And when we harm the sea, we wound ourselves. Understanding this, they no longer wished to prove or record anything, because every piece of evidence seemed small beside the truth they had felt. They only wished to live differently, slower, kinder, more grateful. That night, the captain told them an old tale that sailors once believed there were spirits in the ocean that kept the balance of the world, and that when humans forgot respect, those spirits would withdraw and the sea would rage. He said he did not know if it was true, but perhaps the true fear is not when the sea rages, but when it falls silent. For silence means it no longer hopes to be understood. Then his voice deepened as he said the ocean only wants to be heard, to be loved, as it has loved us for millions of years. And if we learn to listen, we will know it has never hated, never sought revenge. It is only waiting for us to remember. His words left them speechless because they understood that nothing is stronger than nature's patience and nothing weaker than human indifference. The next morning, the sea shone like a vast mirror, reflecting a sky of crystal blue. And in that moment, they felt the world reborn. Each bird crossing, each beam of light touching the water, each drop of dew upon the rail carried the breath of a new beginning. They said nothing, because words could not contain what they felt, only silence. A silence full of gratitude, like a bow before the sacred. Someone quietly asked whether what they had seen was real. The captain smiled and said it no longer matters whether it was real. What matters is the feeling that we have touched something greater than ourselves. And once you feel that the world can never be the same, humans search for distant mysteries. Yet forget the greatest wonder lies within each breath, each drop of water, each passing moment of life. To understand this is to understand the sea, and to understand the sea is to understand ourselves. Dusk slowly descends. The red light spreads across the surface like blood, not the color of fear, but of life merging with eternity. The wind carries the taste of salt, and within the waves they hear a sound only those who have passed through darkness recognize, the sound of absolute peace, of awakening, of humanity finally ceasing to dominate and learning to move alongside. And in that moment, they no longer feel apart from the world. They are the sea, the wind, the light, and within their hearts, the ocean continues to breathe slow, steady, infinite, as though there had never been separation, only the long journey home. That night the sky was black as ink, without moon or stars. Only the faint scattered lights of distant boats melting into the water's shadow. The wind carried the chill of salt. Waves struck the hull in steady rhythm, like the heartbeat of some colossal being. The old captain sat silent as part of the sea itself, his eyes gazing far toward the horizon where light and darkness merged. The younger ones lay on deck sleepless, listening to the ocean's whisper. They knew what they had seen in the depths was no dream, because since returning none of them had lived as before. Each time they closed their eyes, they saw the ancient domes glowing blue, the statues staring upward from the dark, the strange lights drifting like breath, the sounds that belonged to no human world yet echoed in their minds. And the more they tried to forget, the clearer it became, as though the ocean spoke to them in a language only the soul could understand. The young engineer said that since leaving the sea, he often woke at night feeling his heart beat in rhythm with the waves. Sometimes he heard a faint voice calling inside him. He could not tell whose it was, but each time the surf crashed, the call grew louder, deeper, closer. And for an instant he felt himself drifting, not through water but through the ocean's memory. He saw visions not of this age, cities shining beneath the sea, luminous beings circling temples, people with eyes like liquid mirrors gazing at him before dissolving. He did not understand, but he was not afraid, because it felt not like threat, but welcome, as though he were returning to where he once belonged. The young woman dreamed of walking through coral-covered streets, past ancient walls carved with symbols she could not read yet, somehow understood, through feeling, through instinct. She heard the waves speaking, the breath of creatures long gone. And in that dream she wept, not from fear but from remembrance, of something distant and forgotten, perhaps a former life, perhaps the ocean's memory flowing through her. When she woke, her tears tasted of salt, and she knew the dream was a message, a thread, connecting humankind to the sea. The old captain listened and smiled, saying that was natural. For once someone hears the voice of the ocean, they are never silent again. Because that voice is not outside, but within, in the blood, the heart, each cell. It is the oldest rhythm of the planet, the first breath of life itself now reawakened, his voice low and slow like the tide. He told them that long ago sailors believed the sea was the soul of the world, and when humanity lost its way, the sea would call them home, not through storms or disaster, but through longing, through dreams, through echoes, in the night to remind them they had never been separate from nature, only forgetful of the Psalms, Krablov, bond. The sea does not rage, it mourns that humanity forgot how to love, how to listen, forgot that life stands only in harmony. His words left them quiet because they knew nothing that had happened was chance. It was all part of an awakening. From that day, they no longer saw the sea as a place to reach, but as someone to return to. Each wave became music, each breeze a voice, each touch of water warmth. They no longer feared the dark. The sea felt near as breath. They realized that all they once sought, knowledge, power, conquest, meant nothing without reverence and understanding. For knowledge is only a tool, but reverence is the soul, and only with a soul does knowledge become light rather than flame. The engineer carried his old recorder each night, placing it near the shore, and in stillness he listened to the ocean's frequency, sometimes drums, sometimes song, sometimes deep vibrations like prayer. He recorded hours of it, but shared none because he knew it was not proof to show, but truth to keep. The young woman kept writing not scientific reports, but pages of soul. She wrote that the sea is the heart of the world, that every small creature is a story, that every wave is a breath of ongoing life, and that when humans wound the ocean, they tear a part of their own memory. She believed that one day when humanity becomes quiet enough, they will hear the sea speaking in light, not through machines, but through spirit. And perhaps that will be the day the world finally understands itself. The captain left without a word, leaving behind a small notebook. Inside, no map, no coordinates, only one trembling line. The ocean is not beneath your feet, it is within your heart. Whoever understands this will hear the waves even in the desert. The day he vanished, the sea was unnaturally still. No wind, no surf, only a vast silence, as if the world itself held its breath. Then, from afar, a soft blue glow traced the surface like a farewell, like a blessing. And in that moment, they knew he had not gone but returned, not lost but merged with the sea. They did not cry, for they knew there is no true parting, only return, and as the light faded into the water, they heard a sound low and deep, like the voice of the earth. It rose, then disappeared, leaving behind a feeling both sorrowful and serene. They knew the journey had never ended, for the ocean still called, still invited, and everyone who had once touched it carried within them a fragment of its eternity, wandering the world with the sound of waves beating inside their hearts, as a reminder that we came from the sea and one day will return not in body, but in spirit, in memory, in love, because in the end all paths lead to the same place where silence is not emptiness, but fulfillment, where waves no longer strike the shore but merge with the wind, where every question dissolves into a single truth, that all is one, that we and the sea were never apart, only forgetful of how to see. Dawn rose slowly, the first light of day slipping through thin clouds like breath, casting a soft golden hue across the sea. The wind carried the scent of salt, the scent of life, the scent of memory. The old ship now nothing more than a shadow upon the vast expanse, everything so still it seemed. The whole world held its silence to hear the whisper of water, of sky, and of the souls that had passed through. The young engineer stepped onto the deck, light glinting in his eyes as though they were lit from within. He breathed deeply, tasting the salt on his tongue, and in that moment he understood he was no longer the man he once was. Everything had changed. The way he saw the sea, the way he felt the wind, the way he listened to the world, all different. For now he no longer sought answers. He simply listened, and each time the waves touched the hull, he heard the heartbeat of the ocean, slow, steady, endless. The young woman followed him, her hair lifted gently by the breeze, the light wrapping her in a veil of mist. She said nothing, only stood beside him, looking out where the boundary between sky and water dissolved into infinity. She whispered that perhaps humankind has been too busy to remember the beauty of stillness. Then she closed her eyes, letting the wind brush her skin, letting the water breathe, feeling life pulse through every drop of dew. She needed to see no more, for she had seen enough. And now it was time to feel. They stood together in silence, breathing in rhythm with the world. And in that moment they knew that life does not exist in reaching but in merging. The ocean asks not to be conquered, only to be heard, to be remembered as living, surrounding, preserving. Though the old captain had gone, his presence lingered, in the sound of the waves, in the scent of salt, in the trembling light upon the water. He had become part of the infinite, and now each gust of wind carried his voice faint and tender, saying that humanity was born from the sea and will one day return to it, not in body, but in memory, in breath, in understanding, in love. For only in love do we truly exist, and only in love do we touch eternity. The sea is the memory of the world, the keeper of all souls that have passed, and to love it is to love the deepest part of ourselves. The engineer placed his old recorder near the railing, letting it capture the morning, the gentle waves, the wind, the distant wings of birds. And among those sounds he heard something new, a low, deep pulse, not from any creature or tide, but the sound of a heartbeat, slow, warm, alive, as if the earth itself were breathing. He looked out across the water and saw faint blue glows rise and fade like luminous breaths dissolving into air. He did not fear or wonder. He only smiled because he knew the ocean was still there, still listening, still living, still telling its story. And now he was part of that story. The young woman stood beside him, their eyes reflecting the same light, no distance, no boundary, only understanding and harmony. In that moment, time seemed to stop. Everything became transparent. They saw past, present, and future blend into one rhythm, the rhythm of life, the rhythm of the ocean. They knew that here all things begin and end and begin again. There is no loss, no end, only transformation, continuation, like wave, following wave, breath, following breath, and humankind only a single note in that endless song, the song of the world, of nature, of spirit. The girl said, "Perhaps humans will relearn how to live if they learn to listen to the sea." He nodded, for he knew that was the only hope left for the world. Not technology, not power, but connection, listening, reverence. For when we know how to listen, we stop harming. When we know how to respect, we stop destroying. And when we know how to love, we stop fearing. The sea does not ask humanity to bow. It only asks that we open our hearts, our ears, our minds, to remember that we have always belonged to one another. The waves lapped softly. Light spread across the horizon. Sky and water became one. They stood small but not alone, for they knew they stood with the countless souls of the sea, of the wind, of the earth, of all who had come and gone. They heard everything, felt everything, and in that moment they were freed from fear, from loneliness, from the limits of the self. They understood that life never ends. It only changes. It moves like water, like breath. And the ocean in its silence had taught them this, had taught them that sometimes to understand the world we need not speak or prove, only listen. For in that stillness we hear the truest sound, the sound of life, of love, of return. The sun climbed higher. The sea blazed with light. The waves grew louder, and within that sound, they heard the familiar call no longer distant but near. The call said, "The path continues. The journey is not over." For each time someone remembers, the ocean lives again, and when the world learns to listen, the sea will sing, will tell, will forgive, and will embrace all. Then everything will return to balance, to peace, to the pristine beauty of the beginning, and humankind will cease searching for miracles outside, for they will know the miracle never left. It has always been here in every drop of water, in every breath, in the heart itself. And when they understand that they will no longer fear the sea, they will love, they will be grateful, they will be silent, and they will live as the ocean lives, deep, vast, compassionate, and forever flowing. Though time may change and all things may fade, the sea remains, and within it we remain, as breath, as memory, as an inseparable part of eternal life. That is the end of the journey, yet also the beginning of something new, something only revealed to those who open their hearts to see that the ocean is not where we go, it is where we belong, and where we will always return.